Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Today I'm going to be creating two different styles of Christmas ornaments. For my projects today, I'm going to be using some wood blanks that I cut myself. These are approximately 25 by 20 centimeters, and I'm going to begin by priming with Paint Couture's 2-in-1 primer in white. I'm going to apply one coat, then I'm going to let it dry for about an hour, and then I'll apply another coat and let that dry for several hours. The primer is going to provide a great surface for adding my paint and other products, but it's also going to block any stains. These are wood blanks, so it is quite normal to have some bleed through from that, and adding the primer definitely helps with this. It's also suggested that you paint both sides of your wood blanks to prevent any warping. I'm not going to paint both sides of this particular front piece because I won't have any issues with that. I'm then going to be using Paint Couture's Farmhouse linen chalk paint. I ended up doing 2 coats on this, and I also added a coat of that on the front piece as well. When that was dry, I took out this decoupage paper by Ciao. It is called Toy Shops. I will have that linked in the description below, and I'm going to be using the larger of the house designs. I want to have it sort of running across the ornaments. So my first step is to tear the sections off that I don't want. I'm tearing so that I have a softer line. Those tear lines are easier to blend and disguise than harsh lines. I'm going to add the top over the top of the rice paper to see how much of the design I'm going to use. Then I'm going to crease where I am going to have that hanging off. I then decided to go in and actually cut around each of the tops of the roofs of the decoupage paper. I felt like that would be a tidier line having that than just sort of like a straight or even torn cut. I thought that would just look a little bit better. So I'm just going in and cutting out all of that excess paper from off the top sections. And then I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Decoupage Medium in Matte. I'm going to apply an even coat on one half of the ornament. You can see I'm holding that rice paper in position to make sure that I don't shift it, and then I'm going to lift up the other side, apply some more of that product, and then lay the rest of the paper down. After smoothing out any air bubbles or wrinkles, I'm going to apply another coat of that decoupage medium over the top of the entire design. Once that had completely dried, I took out my sandpaper. This is a 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm just running it along the edges to remove that excess. So that I can plan my design properly, I'm laying the top piece over the decoupage paper design and just marking with lead pencil where that is. Then I took out Paint Couture's Crust Medium, and I'm going to tint it with Paint Couture's Simply White Chalk Paint. This is just going to give it a bit of a whiter, brighter tone. I'm going to stir it really well, and then I'm going to start applying it down the bottom. You can see in the rice paper design that it is a beautiful snowy street, so I'm just going to add some more of that down the bottom to make it look like snow. So I'm just sort of dabbing it on and spreading that out. I then took out Paint Couture's Embossing Medium, and I'm going to use a spatula there to start dabbing that product onto the roof. I wanted the different texture on the roof there, just to have a little point of difference. So I'm just running that along any areas that I see the snow on the front sections. I'm also going to add it to the lamps. I didn't add it to the back areas. I just felt like it would start to get a little bit too overwhelming having that embossing medium everywhere. But I am dabbing it onto the top of the little lamp posts that are in the front there. And then I am going to be taking out Paint Couture's Sheer Frost German Glass Glitter, and I'm going to be sprinkling that over the top of the Still Wet Crust and Embossing Medium. And this is a clear type of glitter, so it's not overwhelming, but it's going to make that look like sort of glistening snow. While that was drying, I took out a makeup sponge. I'm dipping that in Paint Couture's Bronze Luxe Metallic, and I'm going to be adding that to the front border piece of the ornament blank. And I'm going to end up doing 3 coats to get the coverage that I want. I set that off to the side and took out IOD's new Tinsel Transfer. I want to put the words Merry Christmas up the top, so I'm just working out here how I want it to sit, and I know that I'm going to have to do the word Merry first, and here again I'm just double checking that none of the letters are going to be hidden underneath that front border. I'm going to peel off the backing sheet from the transfer, and then I'm going to position that up the top. Once I have that in position, I'm going to use the plastic transfer stick that comes in the pack, and I'm going to go over each of those letters. I'm just using the corner of the transfer stick there to go over the top, and then I'm going to start lifting it up. If you go over the top of the entire foil transfer, you may find that you get a lot of excess gold because the background is that sort of gold leaf stuff as well. I'm going to press down the lettering. I don't burnish these because I have had the foiling sort of come off if I was a little bit too rough with that, so I just press them down. I'm going to repeat the same process for the word Christmas. To seal my transfer, I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Extreme Guard in Satin. I'm going to brush one even coat over the top of the entire ornament. I am avoiding the areas that have the embossing medium and the crust and the glitter. In hindsight, I definitely would have added the transfer and sealed that up beforehand, but this project evolved as I went and I just had to go with it. Once that was dry, I took out Paint Couture's Oyster Pearl. I'm dipping the other end of a paintbrush into the product and then dabbing that onto the background and sort of random areas. Basically, I'm trying to recreate the look of snow. So I just sort of went around and dabbed that down, and I used the metallic because it will have a little bit of shine to it, so it'll stand out from the background a little bit more. When that was dry, I took out my Gorilla Super Glue Gel and I'm adding that to the back of the front piece of the ornament and pressing that down. I then decided to go in and add some more of the gold. I need to go and fill in the white edges that are on the back piece, so I'm going in and around the ornament as well, and I did 2 coats just so that the outside front and back piece matched. Now, I definitely could have left it here, but I decided to take out some greenery that I had in my stash. I'm applying some hot glue to the back of that, and I'm going to be positioning these little different pieces up the top. So I'm just layering the greenery picks in. I just wanted a little bit of a 3D element to it. Obviously, everything's looking a little bit flat, so adding this just gave it a bit more depth and dimension. I then took out some pine cones. I'm going to glue those over the top of that middle section, and then I cut a length of red velvet ribbon, and I'm going to thread that through and tie a knot so we have something for hanging. And here's a look at our first Christmas ornament. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Having that ornament in a larger scale makes it so much easier to work with beautiful decoupage papers and transfers. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. For my second project today, I'm going to be using my large winter ornament blank, and I'm going to be priming that with Paint Couture's 2-in-1 primer, just like we did with the first one. If you are in Australia and you would like to buy one of my ornament blanks, you can find them on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Once I finished adding my primer to the base, I also added 2 coats of it to the front section. I let my projects dry completely, and then I took out Paint Couture's Farmhouse linen, and I'm going to apply 2 coats of that over the ornament. When that was dry, I took out AB Studio's new paper 5782, and I am loving the look of these gorgeous little birds in that top design. So I'm going to tear that off first, and I'll be able to put those other pieces off to the side. And then I'm going to start having a look at how it is positioned on the ornament. This particular blank design has the snowflakes, so I had to arrange it in a way that wasn't going to cover up those details. So I'm just using a lead pencil to trace where I'm going to be cutting it. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of piecing this design together. So I'm going to trim out that excess on the right hand side, and then I'm going to start looking at how I can use that piece that I cut off to kind of blend the scene down the bottom, have it sort of go off the page a little bit more and not look so sort of cut off. So I'm just tearing that paper. Remember, having that jagged line definitely helps with blending it in. And then I'm going to use Paint Couture's Decoupage medium, and I'm going to apply it on one half of the design to begin with, and then I'm going to press that rice paper down into the medium, and then I will lift up the other side and repeat that same process. I'm then going to do another coat of that decoupage medium over the top once I have that all smoothed down. But as I was looking at it, I decided to tear off the left-hand side a little bit to give it that uneven edge. Like we talked about, it's a lot easier to blend an uneven edge. And then I went in with some more product, and I'm going to position that bit that I cut off on the right-hand side and add some more product over the top of that. And I think the two sections definitely go together pretty well. I then tore off the excess from the top section. I did another coat of the decoupage medium over the entire rice paper section, let it dry, and then I used sandpaper on the edges so that I could then tear off the excess. Next, I took out Paint Couture's Admiral Blue chalk paint. I'm adding a little bit of water to the lid to water it down a little bit. I'm then going to go in and start dabbing that paint color. I want to blend in the two sections a bit better. Even though we have the snowflakes over those areas, I still want it to look like the scene is continuing over. And by adding some more of this blue tone, I think I was able to achieve that. So I'm going over the top of the rice paper as well as the section that doesn't have any on the painted blank, and I'm sort of watering it down and going between adding the watered down mixture to having it a bit darker. And then I also started layering in some of Paint Couture's Simply White chalk paint, and this was just really something that I had to have a play with until I was happy with how it looked. I did in between certain times put my top section back over on the ornament to see how it was looking, if I was able to blend it together. And then I also added some more of that Simply White down the bottom because dabbing it on did remind me of the look of snow. When that was dry, I took out Paint Couture's embossing medium, and I'm going to start adding that over the top of the house in the background to give it the look of a snowy roof. And then I also added it to the branches in the foreground there that have snow on them on top of the berries. I wanted to bring that sort of more 3D element happening there. And I'm just going to continue adding it in the areas where that snow has sort of like a build up. I also then decided to add a little bit of snow at the front of the fence, and to have that overlapping the part where the rice paper goes over onto the wood blank. So just kind of trying to blend those two scenes together. And then I used my finger to wipe off any excess. While the embossing medium was still wet, I took out Paint Couture's Sheer Frost, and I'm going to sprinkle some of that over the top so that it looks like glistening snow. While that was drying, I took out Paint Couture's Stardust Heavy Metal Metallic, and I'm going to be going over the top of the front ornament piece. This is a beautiful, vibrant silver. It is a little bit hard to see on camera. I ended up doing 3 coats because it is a little bit, lighter color, and often that means that it does require more coats. But this is just such a stunning silver. It is one of my favorites to use. When that was dry, I took out Paint Couture's Crackle Step 1, and I'm going to be using that as a glue medium. I'm just applying it over the top of the snowflakes, not the whole outside of the ornament. I'm just dabbing that on, and as I said, this is going to be a glue medium. So once I have it in the areas where I want it to be, I let it dry for about 30 minutes. Then it became sticky and tacky to the touch. I then took out a plastic sheet to put underneath my project, and I took out Paint Couture's Pure Silver German glass glitter. I'm going to sprinkle that over the top of the snowflakes and all the areas that I have that Crackle Step 1 down. If I inspire you to try any of the Paint Couture products used in today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would use my affiliate link. I will put it in the description and on the screen. I just get a little thank you from Paint Couture in return. Next, I applied some of my Gorilla Super Glue Gel to the back part of the top section of the ornament, and I'm going to press that down. I then went around all of the edges with 2 more coats of Paint Couture's Stardust Heavy Metal Metallic. At this point, I decided to add one more thing, and I took out IOD's Tinsel Transfer, and I decided that I wanted to add the lettering Peace on Earth down the bottom. I am laying that down where I want it, and then I'm using the transfer tool to just rub over the letters, and then I'm lifting it up as I go. I definitely would have done this before applying the top section, but again, this project evolved as I was working on it, and I thought that this was a really nice touch. To seal the transfer in, I used Paint Couture's Extreme Guard in Satin. Again, definitely something I should have done before adding the embossing medium, but don't be afraid to let your projects evolve. Just go with it. I think adding that lettering definitely was a nice touch, and combining that gold and silver. When that was dry, I started applying some greenery that I had in my stash. I'm just hot gluing that on. I'm just adding these plain little green pieces, layering one piece on top of the other on either side. Again, I felt like adding this sort of 3D element just sort of took the project to another level. Obviously, this is not something that you have to add if you're going to give this a try. Once I had those pieces in place, I then started adding some pine cone pieces. I added 2 pieces. And then once I had those in place, I did decide to add another 2 pieces of greenery either side. To give the greenery more of a snowy feel, I took my brush out, added some Simply White chalk paint, and I'm just going to run that brush over the top of the pine cones to begin with. I'm offloading a lot of the paint because I don't want it to be too thick, but then I did decide to go in and also start adding it over the top of the greenery. Again, I'm not going in too thick, I just want it to be a hint of that snowy effect so that the top section ties in with the rest of the ornament. Once that was dry, I took out some corded ribbon that I got from Kmart Australia, and I'm going to thread that through the top and cut it to size and then tie a knot. And here's a look at our second finished ornament. I love how this turned out. I think those little birds look so sweet combined with the snowflake ornament blank. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it's given you some ideas on how you can decorate ornaments this festive season. Let me know if you had a favorite project from today. If you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and if you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find most of the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.